Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne production. Available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
This episode of Steve Austin Show is brought to you free today by our friends at BetOnline.ag. The NFL is in full swing and the action is fast and furious. Right now is a great time to get in on the tremendous sports betting odds in the NFL and college football. Get in the mix at BetOnline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne for your 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline.ag, your online sportsbook experts and exclusive partner of PodcastOne Sportsnet.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah!
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the main streets of Los Angeles, California. Sitting over here at 317 Gimmick Street, about to open up a can of audio whoop ass for you. Before I get into the show, I want to give a shout out, man. I caught a few of the matches on Clash of Champions that WWE had last night. And I know the Charlotte and Bayley match was a very short match. And Charlotte is such a machine. She was just like so geared up. And she has this presence about her. You're looking for like 20 minutes out of her minimum. She's just that kind of person in the ring. And she was charged up and amped up. And Bayley goes down there to the ring as a champion and just has this big smile on her face. And she's very content with what she did the previous week and ends up stealing a win over Charlotte. It was a short match, but I certainly enjoyed that match. I love both of those ladies, so I enjoyed it. And we'll see, where the story goes from here. Also, to the other women's match, Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. Now, again, as much as I love Bayley and Charlotte, I love Becky and Sasha. Two more of my favorites out there going for the Raw Women's Championship. And they put in some time and told a hell of a story. And I was so happy, when Bayley turned heel, but when Sasha came back and turned heel, because I just love her work as a heel. She's just a better heel than she is a baby face, just more natural for her. And when she's the boss and she has that swagger. And, of course, Becky is the man, and she's been dropping some monster promos lately. And just very articulate and eloquent, and just she's the man. And they had a damn barn burner, and it was it was the match of the night. So congratulations to those two ladies. The first match with the tag titles being switched, I really enjoyed that match because it set up the story for the rest of the show. When Braun came there to the back and said, hey, they didn't lose the tag titles. Seth lost the tag titles. I'm like, oh, man, here we go. What a story. So I didn't get all the way to the main event, but I love that match. It was short, but just a title switch. And with Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler, those guys have both been there putting in a lot of hard work. And, of course, Dolph Ziggler has been there for a real long time. And his work is just, Dolph Ziggler's a fantastic worker. And he's really turned up the volume on those promos. So congrats to those two guys. We'll see where the story takes them. But to Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler for winning those titles, great to see the gold, silver, whatever color they are, in their hands. A great swerve, if you will, between, the former tag team champions who I helped sign that match, Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. I'm going to go back and study that last match. I caught about 5 minutes of it, and I've got to finish their singles match at the end, and I'm sure that was great as well. And then I missed The Fiend coming out and attacking Seth at the end of that, so I've got to go back and rewatch that. So I can only comment on a few matches at this time, and I saw both the women's matches, and I saw the leadoff match in which they dropped those titles. So congrats to Dolph and Bobby, and we'll see what I think of the main event. But all in all, hey, this podcast is me shooting the breeze with my wife. Been doing a lot of interviews lately. Took a little break from that, took a breath of fresh air. And because the season finale to Straight Up Steve Austin is tonight, if you listen to the podcast on time, my guest is Dale Earnhardt Jr. And if you've been watching the show, last night was my guest, Trace Adkins. He was the pilot episode about a year and 4 months ago. I'm going through all the episodes and telling you what didn't make air. We had a lot of plans on this show. We had a lot of beats in place. Some things didn't make the air. Some things are funny to talk about, and I can just tell you, you're putting together a lot of stuff trying to make a show, an action-packed show, and this is a quick show. And I'm just going to drop some 411 on you from behind the scenes, and you can see a lot of the bonus episodes or bonus footage on the USA Network website, but I'm going to give you some stories from, deciding how to do things, coming up with different ideas, and take you just a little bit behind the scenes of the show. So who knows if we're going to get season 2? I had a blast filming season 1, and that's what I'm talking about on this show. Again, I'm going to finish watching the Clash of Champions, but congrats to the people that I just talked about. I enjoyed those matches that I saw, and we'll move forward as Raw happens tonight, SmackDown after that. And then coming up real soon, October 4th, SmackDown moving to Fox, and that's going to be real interesting to see that fit, to see that production, to see what changes, and the structure of that show and where they go with it. So that's going to be interesting to see. And I think with that being said, maybe I'll start talking a little bit more about the wrestling product that is on TV. Also coming up is the WWE moving with NXT to live on Wednesday nights. And I guess AEW is starting on Wednesday nights. I don't know the exact date of that, but it's in a few weeks. So there's so much wrestling going on, because there's so much more now, and there's going to be a competitive element, I might be able to start talking more about that. If you would like to hear me talk a little bit more about the business, send me an email to questions@steveaustonshow.com. I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, and I'm always keen to talk about whatever you guys want me to talk about. I don't consider this a wrestling podcast. I just consider a podcast done by a guy who used to be in the wrestling business. If that's what you want to hear about it, then let me hear about it. Other than that, send me some suggestions, because I'm all ears, ready to deliver the can of audio whoop-ass that you want to hear about it. That being said, let's roll on and get this out of the way and start with my breakdown and highlights and all the shit behind the scenes from Straight Up Steve Austin and a couple of Madison Square Garden stories from when I was there during my promotion and there recently for Monday Night Raw. Competition in the NFL and college football scene is continuing to heat up with some huge games this weekend that you're not going to want to miss. On top of that, right now is a great time to get in on all the sports betting action. Here's what we got this weekend in college football. It's the University of Florida taking on Tennessee. Auburn squaring off against the Aggies of Texas A&M. Notre Dame versus the University of Georgia. And a big clash with Utah up against USC. Visit our good friends and exclusive partner at PodcastOne, betonline.ag, to take advantage of the best bonuses in the business. Sign up today for a free account at betonline.ag and use the promo code PodcastOne to receive a 50% welcome bonus. That's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook expert and exclusive partner of Podcast One Sportsnet. If you purchase supplies for a business, you know it's nearly impossible to find everything you need in one place. As you guys all know, I have my shop at the ranch, and it can be a hassle trying to get everything I need together without multiple trips all over the place. Just keeping track of where you need to go will get you all cattywampus. That's why there's my new sponsor, Zorro.com, where the number one goal is to make your life easier. Zorro.com, spelled Z-O-R-O, is where you'll find everything you need for businesses of any size and almost any industry. Electrical, plumbing, contracting, manufacturing. Don't sweat it, because Zorro has you covered. Zorro.com has tools and equipment, safety and office supplies, cleaning gimmicks, and more from brands you know and trust, such as Stanley, 3M, Milwaukee, Schneider, and Rubbermaid, just to name a few. Zorro.com offers amazing customer service from real people based in the U.S., and you'll dig the fast, free shipping on orders of $50 or more. Just for listeners of the Steve Austin Show, visit Zorro.com/Austin to sign up for Z-Mail and get 15% off your first order. Again, that's Zorro.com/Austin for 15% off your first order. Zorro.com/Austin. Get it all in one place.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, we're sitting here at 317 Gimmick Street. I've been doing a lot of interviews lately, so I decided to take a step back and look back at some of the things that I've been doing over the last few months and specifically over the last few weeks, is going back and forth across from the West Coast to the East Coast, going to New York City to promote Straight Up Steve Austin, which the season finale is tonight on USA Network. If you're downloading the show on Monday night as it drops at midnight or on Tuesday, man, I had an absolute blast filming this show, and I got a chance to, in doing the promotional end of it, hang out with and meet some really cool people. And one of the things that I really enjoyed, Kristin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
I know you hate when I do that. One of the things that I really like doing was, I love New York City, but I don't like going there and hanging out too long. I just like to get in and get out because it's a little overwhelming for me. And I'm from a little small town in South Texas, and although we live in Los Angeles a little bit more spread out and wide open, New York City kind of overwhelms me. But one of the things I really enjoyed going over there to do was being on Hot Ones with Sean Evans. And I remember my publicist pitched this to me, and she says, you got to check his show out called Hot Ones. And I said, well, what's it all about? Because many people subscribe to the channel. The guy's super successful at this, and he does a really, really good job of asking questions. So for all of you that saw it, you know what it is. You sit down and you eat 10 chicken wings with different levels, varying levels as they increase as you get later on and as you keep going, get hotter and hotter. So I kind of went into the unknown on this. And so I watched Gordon Ramsay do his. I watched Shaq do his. And, of course, many celebrities have done this. And as my wife knows, man, I'm not traditionally a hot person. My wife is. You can eat things that are way hotter than I can. And so my publicist was like, well, I don't know about you doing this, Steve, because it kind of takes you out of your element. What if you tap out at like number 3? Because she knows I'm not a hot person. I'm going to come across as the biggest sissy in the world. I said, you know what? I said, when you look at the numbers and how many people watch this show, you know, if I can convert those people into watching, you know, Straight Up Steve Austin, then it's been a success. I said, I got to take one for the team, and I got to go into the unknown on this one because people always talk about being out of your comfort zone. I was out of my comfort zone, but that Sean Evans does such a good job of doing his homework and asking questions. And the way they filmed it, like my publicist Cheryl, and, you know, there was probably about 10 people over there on the side that you can't see, and you're shooting kind of into darkness or infinity. So just the setting, and there was kind of like an overhead light, like as you saw. Mm-hmm. And so it just really, he's good at what he does, and you're kind of letting your guard down. But then because you're going into the unknown, you're a little bit trepidatious.
Well, when you're eating something hot, you don't necessarily know if you can speak while you're eating it hot.
I know, and that's what I told him as those things started getting kind of hot. He asked me specifically, he goes, what is color? And I said, color means blood. But when I said color means blood, you can barely understand me because I just swallowed a badass hot wing and it was kicking my ass. I wasn't selling it. But when I was like, color's blood. You know, as I cleared my throat and started drinking water and stuff, then I started answering the questions normal again. But that was one thing that I really enjoyed. And I think the last time I looked, about 10 million people had viewed that. So if you haven't seen me on Hot Ones, just go to YouTube and type in Hot Ones, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and that episode will come up. So,
and the funny thing is, I've never even heard of Hot Ones, but apparently it's very popular.
No, it's very popular, and there's a lot of things on YouTube that we haven't heard of, and it's like everybody else has, and now I've heard of it, and now I watch all the different episodes. So
we sound like our parents.
Oh, I know, and I'm so, but it's funny because YouTube has such a different audience or lifespan or whatever. I remember back in the day when we had Broken Skull Challenge. And there were 2 shows on YouTube, one called Dude Perfect Show and Ed Bassmaster. And so they put both of those shows on CMT, and I think they both lasted about a season, and I think they're back on YouTube. They're big YouTube successes. But so it's always weird to see what's going to hit where. So anyway, Sean Evans was wonderful in that, and that was one of the highlights of some of the things I got a chance to do.
Well, and you got to see our niece, Emma.
Oh, man, that was one of the coolest things. I posted a couple of pictures of me and this young lady. How old is Emma? 22? 1?
22.
Anyway, my niece, my sister's daughter, Emma, graduated from Texas A&M in 3 years, and she, decided she wanted to be a lawyer, and she's always liked going to New York City, the times when her and her mother and my mother would go up there, and she just fell in love with it. So the fact is, I was staying at some hotel, and Smith & Wolinski's was about a 10 or 15-minute walk from the hotel. So,
well, and she's attending law school there, so we're very proud of her.
Yeah, so she's super proud of her. Yeah. And so I called her up one night, and I said, hey, I'm in New York City promoting my show. I said, do you want to go eat, a steak with me? She goes, of course, Uncle Steve. And it turns out she was only like 20 minutes from me. And like New York City with Brooklyn, Queens, all the damn different areas, Manhattan, whatever, uptown, downtown, midtown, it was just very convenient that we were so close to each other. So she came over to my hotel and we walked to Smith & Wolinski's. And then I did my press for the day. And then the next night I was like down there in my shorts again. And I was, looked like a idiot from Texas wearing camouflage everywhere. And I ended up going back to Smith & Wolinski's. And as I was walking there for the second night in a row, because I'm a creature of habit, and I said, man, I'll see if I can bother Em again. Maybe she'll say, if she ain't doing nothing. I called her up on the telephone and said, hey, I'm going back to that same place to eat dinner again. If you feel like going with me. She goes, of course, Uncle Steve. So she grabs an Uber and hauls ass, comes over there, and we do the same thing. I'm drinking margaritas. She's drinking Cosmopolitans, and we ate about 20,000 calories between the 2 days. But that was a big highlight, was being able to spend 2 nights at a badass restaurant that Vince McMahon turned me on to many years ago when I started getting to really know him and climb up the ladder of, at then, WWF. And then to share that experience with my niece, Emma, who we're so proud of, who has worked her ass off so much. So that was a good time. And there's also a thing that I did. I can't remember where it was, but I had to make a cookie and then decorate it.
That was hysterical.
I've got to find the link to direct more people to that because I don't think hardly anybody saw it. But you go in there and you get a cookie and you decorate it to look like yourself. And I was trying to make this cookie look like me, and I put this goatee on it and put some eyes on it, and I kind of Google eyes. And then I saw this red stuff in a tube, and it automatically immediately came to me. It's like, oh, I'll make this reminiscent of the bloodbath. That
color.
The color that was, and my wife using the wrestling lingo. I saw that red, and I thought, color. And so then I started making a picture of me bleeding in WrestleMania 13. So that was also a highlight, which they ask you questions as you're decorating the cookie. And I thought I was bombing on it, but the way
it was so cute.
The way they edited it came out like $1,000,000. Yeah. So anyway, tonight is the season finale of Straight Up Steve Austin. And I want to thank everybody for watching the show because I had a blast making it. And it was tonight's episode is me hanging out with Dale Earnhardt Jr., NASCAR legend, one of the most popular drivers in the history of the sport. Of course, his dad, Dale Earnhardt, was one of the Intimidator in the number 3 car, an absolute legend. And, Dale kind of followed in his footsteps and just so much history. He's probably the most famous name in racing, and his grandfather raced. So that's tonight's episode, and hanging out with him was an absolute blast. And what you're going to see in this episode, and I'm not going to give everything away, but one of the things you're not going to see in this episode was we were at Dale's place there in the Dirty Mo in Mooresville, North Carolina, and we went to his Whiskey River town that he built. And when you first think about it, why would someone build this town called Whiskey River? And this has been in many other featured, videos that Dale has done and other interview pieces. But he built this place for him and his friends to party and hang out at.
It's so cool, too.
And it is so cool. And that piece of property that it lives on is so beautiful. It's unbelievable. And I was thinking to myself, man, I've heard about it. I've read about it. I've watched it on YouTube. Why would someone build a city?
Well, it's not really a city. It looks like an old Western town.
Yeah, it's an old Western town.
Yeah.
But when you get there and you walk in the Chute Saloon, then you get it. Because when I think of all the crazy things that me and my buddies used to do at the Econo Lodge Hotel down there playing pool, the jukebox going, and there's 30 people down there, and beer and whiskey and everything else is flowing, I get it. So that way, just like you said, I don't want everybody tearing up my house. So he built that little town. And so it was phenomenal. But here's what didn't make the cut, because when we filmed the show, you know, I'm hanging out with these people all day, and you've got to move cameras around. Sometimes we're moving locations. There's so many things going on. Not everything makes the air because it's a 30-minute show. One of the things that didn't make the air that I can tell you about, so not give the episode away for you, is I made Dale Jr. a Broken Skull Ranch margarita. And he was sitting there across the bar from me, and we were talking about Junior Johnson and drafting and racing and NASCAR and race techniques. And it was just a thrill to hang around Dale because he's such a wealth of information. And I thought Dale was going to be like, he's going to be kind of timid or quiet or whatever. Well, he's got his own podcast, and the guy is very candid. He's very open. He's very charismatic, and he's very intelligent, and he's a great storyteller. And when you think about these guys, I mean, they make a living traveling, you know, almost all year around the circuit to all these different racetracks and running these cars up 200 miles an hour. And, you know, many of them are single. Some of them are married. But when you're doing that, I mean, it's just like anything. There's going to be a bunch of stories traded, and those guys can tell some great stories. So making the Broken Skull Ranch margaritas, man, Dale Jr. drank that thing in about 2 minutes. I mean, he drank it quick, and I saw that thing. It looked like he had a pretty good little buzz because there's 3 shots of tequila when I make those things. But just it didn't really fit with the vibe of the show. So that's one of the things that didn't make the air. And in today's podcast, I'm going to take you through some of the highlights and lowlights of filming this season. And I had a blast with all of them. Do you think, as we're speaking right now, it's Monday. This is my Tuesday podcast. Trace Adkins aired yesterday as you listen to the show. That was the pilot show.
Right.
And so you haven't seen Dale Jr., but up till now, what has been your favorite episode and why?
I've enjoyed every one of them. I really enjoy the laughing part and seeing you do all these different activities. I love all the food sections. So you're always doing like a food activity because I love to cook. I like the Becky Lynch one because it was a vegan truck, and I don't know about jackfruit tacos because I'm not a jackfruit person, but I've enjoyed every one of them. You really see their personalities come through.
Well, one of the ones, and Becky Lynch is one of my favorites as well, and almost they were all my favorites, but it was funny because I was really nervous about the Baker Mayfield episode because, and I'm going to start going in chronological order, but when you watch that one, you go, that was your favorite episode up to that point.
Yeah.
You really enjoyed that episode with Baker. Because you didn't know anything about the kid.
I didn't even know anything about him, but I learned a lot about him, and he's very humble, and I really enjoyed that aspect of learning about him.
But I want to start off talking about the pilot episode with Trace Adkins, because you remember, Kristin, because we were married. And
we are?
This is about, well, we damn sure ain't got no open marriage. So, I'll leave it at that. Trace Adkins was the pilot episode, which we shot about 1 year and 4 months ago. And leading up to that, we'd kind of been in talks. You started having these meetings with USA, and we were in a room trying to figure this thing out, talking about putting these different elements in. And the original concept was going to be, out on a location in the middle of nowhere, which is where this first episode was shot, which in reality, it was only about 20 miles from where we shot Broken Skull Challenge. But it was a very remote ranch, and we brought Trace in with a helicopter. Well, here's the thing, man. I'm out there waiting in the Monster Tahoe, and that thing was about 1,500 horsepower, and it was bad to the bones. It was really fun to drive. So we had high winds that day. And so Trace had left from Nashville, Tennessee. And
in a helicopter?
No.
Okay.
He flew over commercial.
Okay.
First class, but we're trying to get him there. And all of his flights keep getting delayed. And he didn't leave Nashville till like 12:30 Eastern time. So he got in, late here. And by the time we got him out on set, he was there at 7 a.m. So he hadn't slept at all. And he was tired as hell and kept drinking coffee. So anyway, I'm down there waiting with the Monster Tahoe. They load him up into the helicopter. And the guy's a badass helicopter pilot that flies for a lot of movies and television stuff and is used to flying in high winds. he's having some issues landing that chopper because of the winds. But, I mean, it was all safe. But I'm sitting there thinking, God dang, if we're going to fly every sumbitch in here on a helicopter, this show's going to take a while. So finally they brought him in and they landed, and we went over and we shook hands and said, okay, we got to do it again because the cameras weren't ready for that. The first one was a rehearsal. And then we did that about 4 or 5 times, bringing Trace in. And I'm thinking, man, I'm looking forward to getting this guy in the Monster Tahoe and continuing the interview so we can get on with the show. It'd have been a couple hours. So when you see this show edited down, there's a lot of stuff that happened, prior to that or during the filming of it that you never see about that show. And then one of the things about that show, as you noticed, we had an aluminum bass boat. And the task at hand was to combine an old school Kawasaki jet ski. We're going to cut a hole in the back of that boat, put that jet ski in the back, and we jerry-rigged a lawn chair in the front for Trace to sit on.
An aluminum lawn chair.
Yeah, and Trace is a big old dude. Yeah. Trace is 6'6", he's probably 240. And
that's like something from the 1980s. Like, when you go camping with your parents.
Yeah.
And then you'd replace those little plastic strips as they would wear out.
So this was the first thing. This is the first time I'd ever built anything for television. So that's a whole process in and of itself. Now that I have, a couple of builds under my belt, because there's another one I want to tell you about that didn't make air. So now I kind of get it, and you get the beats. But the other guy had to come in, the bike builder, and do his part. And, he was a little bit nervous. The pilot episode, we're throwing stuff at the wall, trying to see what sticks. And then we finally got that jet ski put together. And then Big Mo came out there, Big Mo Kaysen. And that was the guy that came out and cooked that beef brisket.
Right.
And, man, you talk about a spread to this day. That brisket, and I told you when I came home that day, that's the best barbecue I've ever eaten in my entire life. And this is going back to Luling, Texas, Lockhart, Texas, all the barbecue joints I hit in Austin, Texas when I talked to Mark Henry. Man, this dude, well, he's an award-winning cook.
Yeah.
But just hanging out and eating barbecue, that was fun. And then we finally got the bass ski into the water. And then we're driving that thing around this little makeshift pond, kind of flooded this area, and we're driving around in circles. And by the time I was going over the waves that I was making, there's a couple of times, man, that boat got cattywampus. I almost fell off some bitch. And then, of course, one time it was running too rich, and it crapped out on us. We got the mechanic out there, working on it, and we got it running again. And then Trace is trying to catch a fish. But anyway, we had that thing in a can. And we put it out there, and, the folks with USA were pretty happy with it. And I remember not hearing anything back. Remember?
Yeah, crickets.
It was crickets. That's what they say. And I was like, man, I guess this project, I guess I shit the bed on it, and it ain't going to work. And then finally, at the nth hour, my agent calls me. I mean, this was like 350 days later. Hey, man, I think they're going to do something with that pilot you shot. And I said, all right. So we go back in a room, start having a meeting. Do we need to tweak this thing? Do we want to leave it as is? Came down to it. They started testing this thing. They tested it in New Jersey, and they tested it in Dallas. And people responded very positively to it. And I think, we're going to just strip it down and make an interview show out of it. And they said, hey, we're just going to leave it as is with these acts in there, these different setups, and just shoot it. I said, all right, let's do it. So that's how the show was born, and that's when we started. And when we first started, I was thinking, okay, let's come up with a list of people. I had my list of people. The producers had their list of people. USA Network had their list of people. And so that's how all the guests were, comprised. And it was really interesting because we did a lot of things with each guest. And one of the first episodes, the second episode, but the first in the series of 6, after we got the green light, Rob Riggle came out. And Rob is a very, very busy actor. If you turn on the TV, he's probably going to be on the TV. If there's a commercial, he's probably going to be in a commercial. And if there's a movie, he's probably going to have a big part in the movie. The guy's very popular right now and super busy. Turns out Rob's this big baseball fan, and he'll go to spring training, I guess, with the Kansas City Chiefs, sometimes different teams. But, and looking at his background, and Rob is a former Marine, which that's why we brought in that tripod-mounted machine gun and the tank. But Rob is a big baseball fan, so in the creative room, coming up with all these ideas to do different activities with the guests, I said, hey, man, I played baseball back in the day. We'll have a home run derby.
What's back in the day? You're old.
Back in the day for me is when I played Little League and Senior League baseball up until my high school days, and then I stopped my sophomore year to focus on throwing the discus because I was having to go to baseball practice late, and the coach was getting on my ass. And I was always a loner. So I said,
what position did you play?
I played catcher, and I had a pretty good arm on me, and you're going to be lucky if he's going to steal second base on me. And I was a solid hitter. I mean, I was like an all-star player in high school and in Little League. I'm not trying to say I had any major league potential in anything I ever did other than pro wrestling. So, and the last time I'd swung a baseball bat was in about 1998 when I was taking batting practice with the Philadelphia Phillies. And I've told that story before where I go out there and I'm in my jorts, I'm in my high-tech Magnum shoes, my boots, and I'm out there and I don't have any hitting gloves. And I'm swinging that bat so damn hard, I wore these big-ass blisters. I mean, the entire palm of my hand was gone on each side. And finally, they bring me out some batting gloves. By then, it was too late. And so I had to weather that storm, and that took a couple of weeks to heal up.
Wait, I do remember you pitching some, was it the White Sox or?
Yeah, I threw out a couple balls for his first pitches for many games.
Okay.
And those didn't go too good. Well, here's the thing. Remember that? No, that's when I met Brian Klesko. Ryan Klesko.
Yeah.
That's when I met Ryan Klesko. And it was for San Francisco. And I threw out the first pitch. They're out there just talking to you, or you're talking to them, visiting the dugout, and all of a sudden, hey, man, we're ready for you. You don't get any warm-up throws. Hell, if I'd had a couple warm-up throws, I'd have hummed in a strike.
Yeah.
But I didn't look like some of these people that go out there and completely embarrass themselves. But because
At least it went in the same direction it was supposed to.
Yeah, but they don't give you any warm-ups. That's the story that you don't know, which is the story I'm giving you that you don't know about straight up Steve Austin. So anyway, I was out there taking batting practice with the Philadelphia Phillies, and I hit one or two over the fence. I hit a lot of dingers, and I struck out a lot. And they're throwing they're just lobbing them to you, okay? So anyway,
I'm trying to picture you doing baseball and comparing it to when I see you do golf.
Oh, man, it's pretty much the same. I look like shit. Back in the day, people have said I say that too many times.
You say that all the time. It drives me nuts.
When you get my age and you have my memory, everything is back in the day.
No, our parents used to say in olden times.
In olden times. This day, back in the day refers to yesterday.
Okay.
So there we were out there taking batting practice, and I cannot for the life of me right now remember we brought a major league pitcher in who pitched in the World Series 2 seasons ago. Forgive me for forgetting his name. And he was relatively close to home plate. It wasn't very far.
Is this on the show or this is
on the show?
On the Rob Riggle episode.
This is on the Rob Riggle episode. So we're having a home run derby, and we have 200 feet, 300 feet, 400 feet. We have these markers out there in the sand lot that we had created.
Were you in baseball gear?
No.
Okay.
I was just in my shorts, same stuff I wore on air. And Rob goes first. And Rob, he didn't do great. And so I'm thinking, hey, man, this guy goes to spring training all the time. He's got to be pretty good at baseball. And he's a real good actor. And so now it's my turn. And Rob hit a couple out there. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to blow this guy away. I'm winning the home run derby because out of all the competitions you see during the show, they're all a shoot. And I'm going for a win.
A shoot means real, right?
Damn right it does. And so I get out there, and, man, that pitcher, he's just lobbing them in. He basically can't throw any softer than he's throwing. But, like, the dude is 6'6", and it seemed like by the time he let the ball go, he was only like 20 feet from me. And he was throwing them about chest high, and I'm a sucker for that pitch. And I was swinging for the fence. And I didn't hit shit. I hit a couple of dingers, and I hit one little line drive to the shortstop, if there would have been a shortstop out there. And we had this car door. We ran over those cars.
Yeah.
And we had a car door as our home plate. And I was beating the hell out of that damn car door with my baseball bat because I'm highly competitive and I'm sucking. And this is for my television show.
I'm just picturing you spinning around every time you missed one.
I did. There was
like my golf game.
There was a couple times I almost fell down. And when I looked at that footage back, oh my God, you talk about an ugly swing. And here's the thing.
Because you just want to hit it so hard.
Yeah.
Instead of just making contact with the ball.
And I had high hopes of going to a batting range and practicing. And when Neil came down, Emma's brother, he's in Texas A&M right now as a sophomore. He came down and we went to Long Beach and we tried to go see the Hoonigans guys. And there was a batting cage there and a golf course, a driving range. So we were going to go hit some balls. It was closed down for construction.
Of course.
So I was going to get all practiced up.
Yeah.
And so I go into this thing, ain't swung a baseball bat since 98. Before that, ain't swung one since 78. So that's not a recipe for success.
No.
So that never made the air. But luckily enough, we had enough stuff to, make the show. And I got an email because we're in this tank, and that tank was from about the mid-'70s. It was diesel powered, and that guy, he drove all that military equipment. He had a license to drive just basically anything. And Rob and I are on top in our spots. And when that guy started just going through those gears and crushing those cars, it was just like complete devastation. Those things are literally amazing. And I kept getting these emails.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
This person says, Steve, I cannot believe you're crushing all of these cars on your TV show. We could really use one of those cars. We could use a car right now.
How irresponsible of you.
Yeah, this is irresponsible of you. How could you do this? We could have used one of those cars. And I'm thinking to myself, these are scrap cars. These cars didn't just come off a used car lot, a new car lot.
There are no engines in them.
They're scrap cars. That's why we got them. I don't even know what they paid for those things. Maybe $250 a piece.
Yeah.
If that, I don't know what a salvage car.
This person was very upset with you.
Yeah, but so to that person, if you listen to podcasts, them cars wasn't in running condition because there were some cool little cars.
Yeah,
no Hondas
Nissan
and stuff
Sentra.
like that. Yeah, Sentras. So that's what happened, man. Those cars were
they're props.
They're props. But they were real cars.
Yeah, at one point in their lifetime.
And then Sal, when we got in that ring, we took a lot more bumps than we showed, and I was hitting those ropes like a savage. And then it takes me back to Madison Square Garden just recently. I was at the Monday Night Raw, and I was going out there to moderate a contract signing between Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman, and I go back to my room after going out there, and there's a picture of me texted to me from Sal Vulcano. Sal goes to a lot of wrestling shows, and he goes, "Oh, man, that was great." And I said, "Are you here?" I texted him back. He said, "Yes." I texted him back, "Where?" He goes, "Ringside." I said, "Ringside?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Don't tell anybody. I'll see you soon," because I was going to end up closing the show when they went dark off Raw. And it turns out they brought me back before the show went off the air. And so when I got out there, I said, I got to find Sal. I got to drink a beer with Sal. I couldn't see him. When you get down there, it's such a sea of people, it's hard to locate a face. Yeah. So I grabbed the microphone. I said, "Hey, is Sal Vulcano here?" And I had to say his name about 4 or 5 times. Everybody started pointing at him.
Geez.
And there he was. And I went over and gave him a big hug. And I had a blast filming the episode with him because when I drove that Jeep into that water, I
just loved his story about the swamp monster.
Oh, yeah. That guy could tell a great story. Well, that's one of the reasons he's a great stand-up comedian, and that's why one of the reasons their show has been so successful. And they all have those ridiculously silly laughs that make you laugh. So they're their own laugh track. But anyway, to give him a hug and have a couple of beers, and Q was right there with him. Brian was with him there too, but I didn't see him, so they ended up backstage, and I got a chance to talk to both of them, and that was a real highlight. But there was a lot more wrestling action, and I got to give a shout-out to Lance Archer because he was awesome on that. What you do in the bedroom is totally up to you and your partner or partners. But if you're not using Trojan brand condoms, you're missing out on a safe and enjoyable experience. Protect yourself from STIs and unintended pregnancy with Trojan condoms. You don't think of condoms without thinking about Trojan, and with over 30 different varieties, there's a lot to choose from. You see how people pick out their condoms at the store. They grab a random box and head to the checkout like a sorry SOB. Well, those days are over. Confidently walk into that store, grab a pack of Trojan condoms, and march up to that register with your head held high. Buying condoms shouldn't be this awkward because it's important. 20 million Americans contract an STI each year, and half are younger than 25. That's why you should go with the #1 most trusted condom brand on the market. And it doesn't matter if you're 2 months or 2 years into your relationship. Trojan condoms will be there every step of the way. Now go get your Trojan brand condoms today.
ESPN's Woody Page is putting down the chalkboard and picking up the mic for the Woody Page podcast on PodcastOne.
You came to me and said, I'm thinking about taking this job with the NFL Network.
Yeah.
What do you think? And I said, take it because you can always come back to newspapers.
And I can tell you, Jim Sacamano, who was a vice president with the Broncos, I remember going to him, and he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, you must stay.
Drop the chalk and download new episodes of the Woody Page podcast every week on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
To all my gamers out there, it's time to raise some hell and start some mayhem. Shoot and loot your way through a mayhem-fueled adventure in Borderlands 3 for the PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Borderlands 3 features all-new characters, over 1 billion guns and weapons, and a crazy amount of customization. Play solo or with your friends to take on insane enemies, score loads of loot, and save the galaxy from a fanatical threat. Mayhem is here. Borderlands 3, now available on PC, Xbox One, and PS4. Rated M for mature.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
Going to the Baker Mayfield episode, which was one of your favorites. They played last night on Monday Night Football. We're going to watch that football game tonight. They played the New York Jets. So we had these engineers at a local college build this gigantic catapult because we were playing just this mega-sized catapult cornhole game. And many of these things you can see on USANetwork.com of some of the deleted scenes or bonus scenes that didn't make the air. But these engineers built this big-ass catapult that was basically used a telephone pole as the mechanism, and we were throwing these big bean bags to try to get them in a hole. And it took so long, we just really couldn't even use it for the show. And then the Warthog car was
those were really cool.
That was cool. And the thing about the Warthog car,
we need one for just around the neighborhood here.
Oh, no. Yeah, for a shoot. The guy that built that had never built a car before. It turns out he was going to college to be a nuclear physicist. His dad built cars, but he didn't work with him. He just decided, because he loved the Warthog car, just to do this. And because of his intelligence, he's just able to pull it off and fashion the body. And that was from a K5 Blazer. It was the frame, and the motor was a 350, and it was a turbo 400 transmission. And he looked to YouTube, and he got on YouTube just to find out how to build engines. So the guy wasn't even a mechanic, but because he's so smart, he built the Warthog car. That's the story behind that damn thing, which I find amazing because I watch YouTube all the time, and I've had a bunch of cars, but I can't make shit. All I can do is make a mess.
This is true. But no, I was actually thinking when you said Warthog, I was thinking of those recliner things that you guys built for the show.
Oh,
that's what we need for around the neighborhood.
No, yeah, and thank you for saying that, because that's also, like you said, the Baker Mayfield episode. Those go-karts were built by myself and another guy, right before I met Baker, because we thought we were going to need, a little bit more action. It turns out we have so much stuff. We have too much stuff,
right? Which
is a great problem to have. So we bolted these lazy boys onto these carts, and that's how it all started. And those carts were like 2-cycle engines. And
are they street legal?
And as a matter of fact, we ended up passing those along to Baker. So if you see him riding the streets over in a couple of those things, I just said, man, what are we going to do with these things? And so we took care of them, and that's how that happened. And then going over to Dale Jr., that's tonight's episode. And we drank Broken Skull margaritas, which did not make the air.
Well, you know why I think it didn't make the air?
Why?
Because it's really not a Wild West drink. If you were drinking whiskey, perhaps, people back in the Wild West didn't necessarily make Broken Skull Ranch margaritas.
You know, agreed. But if you've watched my Instagram account, you know that I'm driving around Dale Jr.'s cart and some go-karts, and you talk about a blast. I can talk about it because the episode airs tonight, and a lot of people DVR the show, but it's already on my Instagram account as far as advertising. Man, we started those go-karts up, and I'm thinking, man, this ain't going to be nothing, a little bit old track. And then Dale Jr. says, don't hit your brake. You don't need your brake. And, man, as I'm making those turns, Kristin, man, I'm like sliding out and jerking the car. And Dale goes high. He told me to. Goes high, and he just swoops down. And he never touched his brake, and he never slid out. And I could never catch him. And I know he's a world-class former race car driver, and I'm an idiot wrestler, ex-wrestler. But he told me what to do.
But you do drive like a race car driver.
I do, but I ain't got the skill he's got. Yeah. But it was just amazing. And I was back there, and I had my sunglasses on, but I'm just eating all this dirt and stuff from the show. And it's like when I'm following your brother on our four-wheelers.
Yeah.
I won't ride behind him anymore unless I have full-blown goggles on because sunglasses don't cut it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm eating all this road dirt, and I'm behind him, and I'm laughing my ass off, and I'm like a kid in a candy store, and the cameras are rolling, so I can't complain. But I ain't never had so much fun eating dust in all my life with a NASCAR legend like Dale Jr. And, the dude is like... He's just the funnest guy in the world to hang. You would love him. His wife was really, really cool. He's like a sweetheart of a guy.
Yeah.
And I never figured he would be as talkative and as open, as candid as he is. But that dude's like fun as a barrel of monkeys. And then the Gabriel Iglesias episode was another one of my favorites. These are all my favorite episodes.
Yeah. Well, they're all your favorite, but they all have different aspects that you like.
And the thing that I really liked about the Gabriel Iglesias episode was Gabe loves cars.
But the best part of that episode was when he said, when you guys both had your hoods up, he said, oh, I better close the hood.
He forgot to close his hood going back to go to racetrack. And they left that in there. But the thing about it was we both love cars. And when you go to Fluffy's compound in Long Beach, he has all of his VW buses and his Volkswagen Bugs. He just has this wonderful collection, I don't know, 20 plus cars, and they're all completely brand new, and it's amazing. And I was able to defeat him in the drag strip race, driving my 1974 Camaro Z28 versus, I think he was a 1978 Pontiac Trans Am. And the thing about that was, he had a 400 cubic inch motor there in his car. Now, that was a built motor. There was a lot of horsepower behind that car, but it was a 4-speed car, whereas mine is a 383 stroker motor and an automatic transmission. So had we had two professional drivers in there, it could have been a different story, but I did not have to shift any gears, and I was up to about 2,500 RPM with my foot on the brake. That's about as high as I could get before the car would start rolling to stage up. Here's the thing. Fluffy had just gotten that Trans Am like 2 months before that race, and he'd been on tour, so he'd only driven it like a couple of times. So had he been, able to acclimate to his car and really go through the gears, he might have smoked me. But he wasn't used to shifting, running a quarter. You're dumping the clutch on the start line and then going through your gears, watching your tack. All I did was nail it. And I was watching those RPMs, and that thing was getting on up there.
Well, you'd already had training with Dale Earnhardt Jr., so.
Yeah. And so, and my buddy, Scotty Kuchera down there in Edna, Texas, put my car together. And that car was a motor from Milwaukee from a place called TriStar Engines. And it's about a 430 horsepower car. And I just nailed it. And that guy at the track said, hey, man, when it's yellow, go. Because by the time it's yellow, it's going to turn green according to your reflexes, and just go on yellow. And I say yellow,
go
on yellow. And man, as soon as that damn yellow light hit, man, I was gone.
Yellow.
Here, yellow. Come back, yellow. So racing with Fluffy was an absolute blast. But I got to take up for Fluffy, because had he driven that car for a while, he might have beat me, because those cars were very closely, as far as horsepower. But I just had the advantage because of an automatic transmission. And it's funny, Kristin, because Fluffy's one of the funniest guys in America, and he works his ass off. And I'm trying to facilitate a conversation with all these people and have a good time. But once you get at the starting line and you're in a drag race, everything changes. There's an adrenaline factor that starts coming in and an automatic competition factor which comes in. And it's like, hey, man, I don't want this to be close. I want to crush him. I'm sure he was thinking the same thing. And so I got really, really serious because I hate losing so much. But it was just funny when
I don't think anybody likes to lose.
I mean, I don't either. But and then when we ended up at the mani-pedi place, I had stars and stripes painted on my toenails because that's what I wanted. But the liquid that was in those glasses was pure 100% Patron Silver. Fluffy drinks Patron Silver, and that's what we're drinking. That wasn't water. So by the time, and we were in that nail salon for about an hour, and this is after all the drag racing, all the burrito eating, all the crossbow competition, all of that, and the crossbow stuff was a blast. Fluffy's a good shot. I could not let him beat me at shooting because that's one of my hobbies. So he did really, really well. I just did a little bit better. But that was Patron Silver, and that was a real mani-pedi place, and that was the longest I've ever been in a mani-pedi place, and I was ready to get out. Because after spending all that day in the sun, it's like, really? I don't know.
And you just had a drink that probably relaxed you a little bit,
my
too.
God, did it relax me.
I don't think I've ever had alcohol when I've had a mani-pedi, but that might be a nice addition next time.
But it was a blast hanging out with Fluffy. So anyway, leading me into the Becky Lynch episode, we were trying to think, okay, Becky Lynch, she's the man. She's on fire. She just kicked ass. Her and Sasha Banks, of course. Sasha Banks is another one of my favorites, and Becky's one of my favorites. And Bayley, too. Bayley won against her match with Charlotte, who's awesome as well this past weekend at Clash of Champions. Props to all four ladies. They kicked ass. Different storylines in that match between Bayley and Charlotte. We'll get into that at another time. But anyway, it's good to see Becky and Sasha rip it up. Best match of the card. So we're trying to think, okay, what are we going to do with Becky? She lives in the marina. I live in the marina. She's never ridden a four-wheeler. I love to ride four-wheelers. We can use L.A. as a backdrop, so we can, do that. And but we wanted to do something for our ride-along. And they said, Steve, do you have any cool cars or do you have any hookups that have these cool cars? And I said, let me talk to some folks. And there was like one guy that I know that had this like 69 Mustang that was like a 900 horsepower car with a 4-speed transmission. But I said, man, that car is probably worth way too much for them to let us drive it around the mean streets of Los Angeles. And I sent him a picture of my Bronco and my Ram Charger. I said, man, I got a Corvette Z06. I sent him a picture of that. I said, I can pick her up on that. And then my wife says, why don't you use a Ford Focus? You talk about it on the podcast all the time. And I said, God dang, that's a damn good idea. So I called my producer. I said, my wife came up with the idea. I said, I got a metallic P Ford Focus. I said, it would be badass to pick up Becky in my Ford Focus. I said, I talk about it on my podcast all the time. I said, people love that car, and they ain't never seen it. And
you guys were sitting so close, too. That was the funny part. Like the center console's big as a football.
Oh, I could barely put my forearm on it. So I pitched it to one of the producers, and she's laughing her ass off. And I said, well, let me run by the network and see what they say. And I'm like, okay, man, I don't know if they get it. I'm like Captain Redneck here, and I got this Ford Focus in for, shoot, this is my daily driver with a really dark tinted windows.
With a lot of spider webs on it.
A lot of spider webs on it. And they said, the network loves it. Okay, what do we need to do to get the car? I said, hell, I'll go get it. I went to the car wash, got it all waxed up, and drove it to set that morning. And they put all the cameras in it and stuff like that. And Becky... when she saw that car, she was like, she had the biggest smile on her face because she didn't know what to expect.
Right.
No one knows what to expect when they come on the show.
You're going to pull up in a Maserati or something.
Yeah, and that's what I told her. I said, what do you think I was going to pick you up in, a Lamborghini? And she popped. When I could see, she popped. That was big time for me. So we had this great conversation in there, and like you said, you're right next to each other.
You are,
because that car is so small. And here's the thing that didn't make error on that episode was we had the people from Cold Steel Knives out there, and we had this the hatchet throwing competition.
Yeah,
that was Cold Steel, and then we rolled up onto just this table full of knives. Because everybody knows how much I'm into knives, and just we're going through all the different blades and stuff like that. And we roll up on those knives. Like I know Becky a little bit,
right?
But she's always on the road, and I'm always gone or whatever. I just know her a little bit. But when I saw because I like to read everybody, when we're taking them to do this stuff, because you're trying to get their take on what's up. And whether it's from Sal and the Panther Jeep or whatever, you're trying to get a read on everybody. And I saw this look on her face, and she was kind of trying to no-sell it. But when she saw like this table full of knives, she's thinking, WTF did I get myself into? So anyway, we had so much involved, so much filming and so much conversation in the car and all that other stuff. We didn't need that, so that did not make the air.
But what were you supposed to do with all these knives?
What we did was we put these water bottles, they were like 16-ounce bottles, on a table, and we had a fixed blade knife, and we put 3 water bottles filled with like green liquid, blue liquid, and red liquid, just different color liquids. And so, it wasn't just plain water. There was more visual.
Right.
And so we were going to have a competition to cut through these water bottles. And she didn't have a really strong swing on the sideways thing and had never cut anything like that. Me, same thing. I'd never cut anything like that, and I got the gimmick arm.
Yeah.
I basically knocked all the water bottles off.
Yeah.
So it was a very close match, but we didn't do great. So we both looked like shit, so that did not make air. But we had so many other things that worked that we did not need it. And I will say, I can throw an axe pretty damn good.
Not on that show.
Man, oh my God. We got a chance. Man.
It's that gimmick arm.
It was my gimmick arm. Here's the deal. When you're throwing an axe, you must have your distance completely dialed in. If you're one step forward, once you have your distance, if you're one step forward or one step back, you're either going to rotate too much or not rotate enough. And that last throw, I must have been off my mark or didn't extend my arm. And when I threw that thing, it hit dead center on the end and fell to the ground. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm going to lose an axe throwing contest. I'm a guy loves the outdoors. I've thrown axes before, and I threw a turd on that last damn axe throw. And the bet was 30 push-ups to a river dance. I would have loved to see the man do that damn river dance.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I choked. The pressure was on. I said it to feel no pressure. The pressure was on. And
Did she ever do the river dance?
Do what?
Did she ever do the river
No,
dance?
she didn't have to because I had to do the push-ups because I lost.
Oh, yeah.
If I won, if I wouldn't have thrown that turd, she'd have been river dancing. But anyway, so that was basically running through the season and telling you what didn't make air and all of the different stuff that we did and some of the creative going into it. And looking forward, hopefully the show has performed well enough that USA brings it back for season 2. It's really interesting to do a first season and go from a pilot to one season, find yourself, develop, who and what you are, and then move forward and learn from your past experiences, which is what you do in anything in life. And looking at my iPhone here, and to everybody that watched the show, thank you very much. The show did extremely good numbers, and I'm very proud of it. One of the things I was going to mention to Kristin before I left off and we wrapped this thing up was when I was back at the garden. Like I said, I've been to the garden in many years. There's a picture that I found, or you and I found together, about a year and a half ago. We were meeting with one of our friends. We're trying to do some redesigning, and the lady is what's she? Interior
designer.
Interior designer. And for some reason, we went into this meeting.
Well, there was an art show in the neighborhood, and so they had all this art that they were getting ready to put out. So,
and you had been there the day before, and you said, "Man, there's all these badass pictures of these musical acts there." And she said, "You just got to see them. They're phenomenal." And I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. So anyway, the next day I go to the meeting with my wife to meet with the designer, and I look at all these pictures. And of course, I'm a big music fan, and I looked at all these. This very famous photographer takes all these pictures. But there was one picture out of all of them, and there were so many famous people in all these different pictures, but the one that just jumped out was this framed picture of Motorhead with Lemmy and the guys, on either side of him. And the way the light was hitting this picture,
it's a photo.
It's a photograph.
Yeah.
It's a picture. A photographer took it, whatever. But it's framed up in this old frame, and it's been beaten up a little bit. And I don't know where it was hanging for all these years, because this picture, this photograph, is from 2005. And there was a little card that came with it that said, this is at the Wiltern Theater. And for some reason, because I know that Triple H just is a big Motorhead fan, and he had a close personal relationship with Lemmy, and had many conversations together. And Lemmy performed, Triple H's song at WrestleMania 17. And still, to me, that's the greatest entrance. Watching them play that song, listening to them play that song, "We're Motorhead, we're going to kick your ass." And they played for about a minute, and then Paul comes out. And I'll never forget it. And I still watch it every now and then on the network to this day. So this picture just jumps off at me. The way it's lit is just phenomenal. And I told the lady that we were meeting with, I said, "Hey, man, what's the deal with all these pictures?" So they're going to the art gallery. I said, "Man, does the dude want to sell that picture right there?" And she goes, "I don't know, I'll ask." And it turns out she goes, "Yeah, he'll sell it." I said, "Okay, well, what is it? How much?" I found out how much. So I said, "I'll take it." So I picked that picture up. Kristin and I did. We put it in the back of the Jeep. And it has been sitting at my house for over a year. I didn't want to mail it. I didn't want it to break. I didn't want it to get crushed. When WWE was in town, I was out of town. I was just going to take it to the Staples Center. But I never had a way to get it to Triple H. So finally, when I was going to go to the Garden, I said, "This is my chance to take this picture and hand it to him personally." So I took it to him, and I said, "Hey, man, I found this about a year ago in this meeting, and for some reason, I just knew that you had to have it." And he was just blown away by it. He absolutely loved it. And Triple H is a very reserved guy. I didn't know what he was going to think. And it turns out, all these years later, at 2005, he introduced them at that concert that night.
At the Wiltern Theater?
Yes.
Here in L.A.?
Yes.
Huh.
He was there announcing them on stage before they made their entrance.
So weird.
Yeah. So that picture was destined to end up in his hands.
I think so.
And
what a coinkydink.
You told me this. You're like, "Man, you're never going to get that picture to him. Why don't you just keep it? It's a cool picture."
It is a cool picture.
It is. And I said, "No, I love it. But I mean, as much as I like Motorhead, they're not my band. They're Triple H's band.
Yeah.
That's his fave." So I said, "He's got to have it." So that's the full circle. After having that damn picture for over a year, its rightful owner, who was destined to be with, was Triple H. And that's the story. He was so over the moon with that picture because he was there and he introduced the band that night.
That's crazy.
So that's history.
Yeah.
What else we got to talk about?
Well, I have to go to the post office so I can start returning some of my mom's QVC and Home Shopping Network purchases.
What you get this time?
Cauliflower pizza, about 20 of them. Pot stickers, a track phone, and what was the last one? Popcorn.
How are you going to return cauliflower pizzas? Here's the thing about my wife. If it's possible that you can return it, she will return it. I mean, it don't matter if it's 15 cents. My wife will return it.
My mom doesn't need any of this stuff, and I keep telling her, please stop buying stuff on the network.
I'm telling you, man, them people working at QVC, they can sell you anything.
Anything. And especially there's a lot of elderly people that watch those, and so they're very compelling in their sales pitch. And lo and behold, my mom is a sucker for any of that stuff.
And they always go, hey, man, we've only got this many left.
Yeah, limited, yeah.
They
time.
create that sense of urgency.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, you got to have one, and here's all the reasons why.
And the cauliflower pizza tastes so delicious. I'm like, really?
I love the way they do it. So delicious. I mean,
yeah.
You think it's like, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. No. It's cauliflower pizza. I've never had a cauliflower pizza, but it's very popular now.
The other day, she tried to return that track phone. What was the deal on that? Because you didn't have the receipt or something like that. And I was like, there's no way you're going to eat this one.
Is there a lithium battery in there? I'm like, I don't know. I'm returning it exactly how I received it. I haven't touched it. And so we had to go through the whole. You only need to report a lithium battery or take it out of its case if you're putting it on a plane. This was going ground. And so we spent 45 minutes trying to figure out if there was a lithium battery in this flippin' track phone.
Hey, man, we was in Nevada, and we were packing up the Yukon to go to Nevada, and there's the track phone in the back with all our shit. And all of a sudden, I was like, man, I said, you can't mail that thing here? She goes, well, we ain't got time. So we just found that they had just opened up, was it?
UPS store.
It was a brand new store in this town that we live in up there. And she goes, oh, pull over here. This is the first day it's open. And anytime you go somewhere, the first day it's open, they don't really know what's up.
They're not ready.
It's like me filming a pilot episode. I don't really know what's up.
Yeah.
So they didn't know what was up. And then that's when they go through all of the questions about when'd you get it? Where'd you get it? How'd you get it? Does it have a lithium battery? Oh, it's got a lithium battery. We can't do this. I went, no, but here's why you can.
I had 5 people helping me.
And I'm sitting in the car. We got the Yukon, got the windows all tinted.
Hot.
It's hotter than blazes out there. It's like 98 degrees in Nevada. And we didn't know it was going to be 98 degrees in July and August when we moved there. We just assumed it would be cool all year long because it's at altitude. So I'm out there. I'm thinking, man, I drank a lot of water before I left. I got to piss like an effing racehorse. Man, my back teeth are floating. You get that kind of, I'm doing it right now, you get that look on your face where your eyes just kind of wide open.
I was wondering why you're driving so fast.
Goddamn, what took you so long? Shit, man, they give her a whole deposition about sending these effing lithium batteries. And like, God damn it. So, man, we're driving through town, and I'm thinking, okay, I can make it. And she goes, you're not going to make it. Just take that right there and go on the side of the road. Well, it's a pretty busy road, so I figured I'm going for it. And, these roads leading to our house, it's 45 miles an hour. So I'm trying to drive speed limit, but I think I ain't running radar. But, I'm going down here. I'm going about 65 miles an hour. Finally, there's that left turn. And when you make that left turn, it's about 4 miles to the house. And when
Get closer.
When I start rising up in my seat, I'm really hanging on. And you was there. And then you turn down to make a left in our house, and then it's 20 miles an hour once you get on that. And you don't want to speed in front of the neighbor's house because, man, I drive like a bat out of hell down that little damn road. I swung a right into our gate, and I got the remote control working. That gate swings open, and I'm hauling ass. I'm going damn near 70 down our driveway, and I pull into my damn shop and go in there. I got a stand-up urinal on that thing, and God dang, I let her fly. But I thought I was going to piss my goddamn pants. I was like, and I came back and I was shaking my head. My wife says, "Did you make it?" Yeah, I made it, but it was close. But so please don't ever take it long again. I don't know where to go from there, so I'm just going to go home.
Well, I'm going to the post office, so I'll see you later.
Where you going to mail? You didn't bring home all those pizzas, did you?
No, I'm going to leave the pizzas there, but the other stuff I'm mailing back.
Okay, quick shout out, man. Good news to the New York area. When I flew over to New York, man, I took a bunch of beer with me. But El Segundo Brewing Company is shipping over a bunch of beer to the New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts area. So if you go onto the El Segundo Brewing Company website, and on the right-hand side, it'll say Broken Skull IPA. If you click on that, it's an interactive map, and it'll tell you, all the places or the little stores in those areas where the beer is located out. I hope the East Coast enjoy Broken Skull IPA. El Segundo was saying it's an invasion of the East Coast. This is the friendliest invasion in the world because I've got so many friends out on the East Coast that have supported me in my wrestling endeavors. Cheers, swig of beer. I know there's a lot of IPAs on the East Coast, just like there is here on the West Coast. This is the West Coast IPA, just like there's a West Coast Wrap and East Coast Wrap. And talking to Peter Rosenberg many years ago. So this is a West Coast IPA. I'm real proud of it, and I hope you guys enjoy it very much. Coming back next week with a guest, back to the interview type stuff. Good shooting the breeze with my wife and talking about how much fun I had this season of Straight Up Steve Austin. Hopefully we get a season 2 out of it. Hopefully enjoyed Trace Atkins yesterday and all of the episodes, and especially Dale Earnhardt Jr. tonight. It was an absolute blast hanging out with that guy, one of the nicest people I've ever met. Coming back to close the show. Let's get some props to our friends over at TrueCar for supporting the podcast from day one. With TrueCar, 60 seconds is all you'll need to get an offer for your car. And the amount of time it takes to floss your teeth, pet your dog, or do a few push-ups, you can get a true cash offer. Best of all, you can do it from your smartphone or even from home. Just go to TrueCar and simply enter your license plate number and watch how your car's details pop up. Answer a few questions, and you'll get an accurate true cash offer from a local TrueCar certified dealer. It's that easy. After that, you can bring your car in and they'll check it out with you. Together, you can ask questions and get the answers you need so there's no surprises. Then, simply leave with your check or trade in your car for a new ride. So when you're ready to experience a better way to sell or trade in your car, check out TrueCar today. True cash offer, not available in all areas. And hey man, while you're online, you should get your car insurance figured out. Go to geico.com and in 15 minutes you can be saving 15% or more on car insurance. That's right. Save hundreds of dollars on car insurance at geico.com. Extra money in your pocket? It may just be the most rewarding thing you do today. All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue, so I'm going to wrap up this podcast and ride off in sunset. Before I do that, I want to thank my wife for joining me here on the show and talking about the last few months and weeks of my life. Everything Straight Up Steve Austin related, going down to the garden, hanging out, being on Raw, and all that stuff. I've had an absolute blast doing this show, and we'll see if we get season 2 out of it. Who knows? But it was good sharing with you the experiences that you saw. To those people over there that do not get the show, I hope you enjoyed the show even though you don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe some of the stories brought you some entertainment. Hey, don't forget to rate and review the Steve Austin Show on Apple Podcasts and tell your friends to check us out. Make sure to set your DVRs for Straight Up Steve Austin. Tonight, Tuesday, after SmackDown, my final episode is with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Don't want to miss that episode. It was a good one. If you want to reach me here on the podcast, send an email to questions@steveaustinshow.com. Also, the best damn IPA on the planet is Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company, making its way to the East Coast. You can find it at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in Cali. If you ain't in Cali, you could be SOL. We made a shipment to the East Coast. There's more coming that way. Also, looking for expansion in 2020. Details as soon as I know more. Don't forget, the King of Attitude shirts are available now at Pro Wrestling Tees store. Check out ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin for those shirts, along with all of my other Broken Skull Ranch apparel. If you're looking for a badass knife, I got 2 for you from Cold Steel Knives, the Broken Skull and the Working Man. Check them out at my Amazon store. Best price on both knives, Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. I would like to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, especially Zorro.com, Borderlands, Trojan, Geico, TrueCar, and BetOnline.ag. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. Please support them because they support us. If you need more info on my sponsors, check out the show description to this episode for details. If you see me out in the woods, you will proudly see me riding a Kawasaki. Until next time, folks, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.